HFES Town Hall, a state of the society, and certainly not our largest society, but HFES, the only one that I have any kind of purview over. May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, for those of you who are aware of this, a very important day in for our Mexican friends south of the border. So I want to talk today about Aspire 2025, what is ahead of us for the plans and thoughts for Aspire 2030, some of the impacts of federal activities and what we are doing as much as we can and how we're responding to that, and then some of the successes that we are looking to celebrate. So Aspire 2025. The good news, we had a record number of submissions for Aspire 2025. We had almost 1,000, which is certainly over the top. We're continuing to do the two-step process. We are going to continue to iterate on it. And for industry, they are continuing to report to us that having it be the two-step process is a game changer for them. And that is a quote. That being able to have this two-step process and have the shorter submission in this first step fundamentally changes their ability to be able to participate in this. And so and we'll talk about this a little bit. I'll talk about this a little bit in a minute. I think all of us are aware that it is not a perfect process. There are attributes of it that we need to be able to hold on to be able to keep our balance of industry and academics. Another great thing about the Aspire 2025 are some very exciting concurrent events that are going on. We have ErgoX, although it's not a new event, ErgoX this year is going to be back to its original format of being primarily about physical ergonomics. It is going to be the Monday of that meeting when the workshops are going on, and has a lineup of invited speakers and panels that Kermit Davis has lined up. So please be sure and look out for that. That information is going to be, if not on the website right now, is going to be posted very soon. So really excited about that to really make sure that we are highlighting and meeting the needs of our colleagues that are in this industry, in particular in this time, because a lot of those colleagues right now are seeing their industry, their science, their practice being quite challenged by funding. Another very exciting thing that's happening is the UX mini conference. Many of you may know that we have a new UX technical group that was started last year. And we've had UX Day for several years, which has been very well received, but not very well known by people who were outside of the UX group. And so we wanted to really elevate the visibility of this. And so it's going to be a 2-day event now. It's going to be Tuesday and Wednesday. And there's also going to be a workshop on Monday. And there's going to be on one of the days, there's going to be a lot of the traditional student activities and awards and panels that have been always very successful. And then on another one of the days, there are going to be sessions that are very explicitly focused towards practitioners, to really be meeting the needs of those practitioners. And we're really looking to leverage the fact that we're going to be in Chicago, where there is a very large community of UX professionals. We've reached out to the UXPA, the UX Professional Association, to work collaboratively with them as well. So very excited about this, and looking forward to continuing to build that. On Friday, there is going to be a Humans and AI mini conference. One of the things that we all know is that this is an emerging technology. It's one of those things that I know some of us, or some people certainly are like, okay, all right, already, we need to talk about AI, but can we talk about something else as well? But it is so pervasive that we really have to continue to talk about it so that we continue to make sure that our expertise is in the conversation and in the conversation, as we all know, at the beginning of the design. And so this is going to be like the UX event is going to be 2 days. Thursday is um, going to be from the regular submitted programming that happens in the regular process for putting the program together. And Friday is exclusively invited programming. And Missy Cummings is going to be the keynote. That's going to happen during lunch on Friday. And so that's another exciting event as well. Really looking forward to that. Very high visibility. Another thing that we are going to be starting to do this conference is we're going to be honoring the people that we've lost over the year, our HFES members, or even folks who are very prominent in human factors and ergonomic science and practice. And so we have people that we've honored in that way through the bulletin, but we also have a spot on the website where people can submit information about people that maybe we don't know about. I'm sure that there's many that we don't know about. And we're going to start having that link on the bulletin every single time. So, and we're going to remind people about that as we get closer and closer to the conference. We're going to have 3 different kiosks around the conference where we're going to have a rolling presentation to be able to honor those people that we've lost. Because we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to remember them and honor them and make sure that those who didn't necessarily get a chance to either know that we've lost them or know about them and be able to pay our respects in a way. The other thing that we're going to be doing, I see I've ended this in a preposition, which I hate to do, but the other thing that we're going to be doing, I've been having many conversations with Ron Boring about this. And the same sort of idea, we have these awards that are named after very important people. And a lot of our younger folks don't necessarily know who these people are or why there is an award named after them. Um, I would hope that most people know who Chapanis is, but not necessarily everybody. And I know that I was very, very honored to receive the Hanson Outreach Award last year. And I wanted to be able to find out, okay, so why did Keith Hansen get the Outreach Award? It was very difficult to find out why Keith Hansen got the Outreach Award. I found out a lot about the service he did, but not necessarily about the outreach he did when he was working. And that's just broken. We need to be able to know more about these people's whose shoulders we're standing on. We need to have that really solid foundation of these folks who we are relying on to be able to continue to grow and be strong. And so we're going to also have that be something that is a rolling presentation, and we're going to continue that every year so that we can add to it every year, so that people who are new members can learn about these people every year. And so we are honoring them, the people that came before us, as well as the people who are getting these awards. Um, Another thing I'm very excited about is we have our keynote for this year, Dr. Robin Murphy, and she is so is it's one of the things that I think is really exciting about this keynote is Robin is not just about public disaster response and all of the different disasters that she's been to all over the world. She's not only going to be able to talk about robotics and every different kind of drone that you can think of. But she's not only going to be able to get to talk about AI and the development of that, but she's going to be able to get to talk about all 3 of these. And oh, by the way, she has been looking at the intersection and in humans and this all along because she's realized the need for that and realized the need for having people that are in human factors and ergonomics be involved in her research. So I think it's going to be a really exciting keynote and really looking forward to that. So one of the challenges that we've had for 2025 is that we had to have a higher rejection rate this year just because we had space constraints. We had the same number of space available this year for talks and posters as we had last year and the year before. But we had a third more submissions than we had 2 years ago. So it wasn't that we were looking to have a higher rejection rate. We necessarily had to have one just because of space constraints. And so that's not the way we want to be functioning as a conference. And so we need to do something about that. And I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. We need to be more intentional and strategic about what we're doing with our meeting, given the fact that we are growing every year in the number of submissions. So we've got some great news about the number of submissions, but that means we need to be more proactive and plan about what we're going to do with that. We're also seeing that the timeline is too tight with our two-step submission process. The idea with the two-step submission process is that with that first submission process being a shorter submission, that we are going to be able to have more people who can come and who can present, that they have to meet a certain level they have to meet a certain level to be able to present. And then they're going to have to meet a higher level in order to be able to be published in the proceedings. However, this timeline is too tight. It's not working. It's clearly not working. And so we have to fix that. One thing that we've done is we're extending the timeline 1 week to May 12th. So tell all your friends, we're extending it 1 week. We're sending this out. I know this is still too tight. And this is something we're still going to have to work on. And we know it. We're aware of it. A big challenge that is not anything that we could do about anything about was the travel budget reductions that are happening due to the federal activities. And so we're having to adjust and become aware and adjust and figure out how we can best approach those. And so I'm going to talk some of the ways that we're addressing those challenges. We've created and are in the midst of publicizing and how we're going to do that, a solidarity fund. And so there's some people out there who do still have funds and are going to be able to contribute some. Maybe they have more than enough, and maybe they can contribute a couple of hundred here, or more there. Maybe they're happy to share their room with somebody when normally they would only, have one, would not have a roommate. Things like that could really change whether or not somebody who got their paper accepted, maybe they wouldn't be able to come without without this support. So, so these are the kinds of things that we're looking at, is this idea of a solidarity fund. We are exploring alternative presentation and attending methods. We are just starting that process, and what we're doing is we're looking at the costs of doing those, because none of those are just free, and so we have to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible. We are not going to lose money on this conference, and if you ask anybody on the EC, they have heard that from me 5 million times, and so we have to look at the money before we just start throwing out solutions. And as I said, we're continuing to explore the goals and the process of the two-step submission process. So I've said a lot that we are we keep with our successes, and we continue to iterate on our challenges. So that's about Aspire 2025. So everybody keep your notes so that you can ask me questions at the end, because I'm sure y'all will have them. So Aspire 2030. So this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, given particularly what I've just told you all, that we had these, this great number of submissions, but we just don't have room for them all. And so I started thinking, well, what do we want this to be? And I also started thinking about this last year when there was so much consternation about the new two-step process, and whether it was good or whether it was bad, and who it was good for, and you could get a million different opinions about that, and everybody was sure that they were correct. And one of the things I realized is we didn't have any explicit goals about what we wanted the conference to be. And do we want it to be 5,000 people at the conference? Do we want it to be 10,000 people, 20,000 people? Do we want to be like Chi? Do we want to be like APA? Do we want to be like Applied HFE? What do we want to be? We haven't decided that. What kind of mix between academics and practitioners do we want? Do we like what we have? Do we want to be, dead on 50-50? Do we want to be, what is it that we want? What do we want the experience to be? You can talk to a lot of people that are long timers who will say, I hardly go to any talks. I really just like to go to the posters or really like networking with people or talking about what research they do. Where you go to other people and they really they want to be able to present. They like to go to the presentations, and they definitely don't want to lose that. Um, and so I would say none of these are wrong. We just need to make some decisions about what we're going to do. And then what about the prestige? For those of you who are familiar with it, it's as difficult to get a paper, conference proceeding published in Chi as it is any journal. And so it's very, very prestigious. It's also not the experience that some people want. Some people do, but some people don't. What do we want our conference to be for academics? What do we want it to be for practitioners? A lot of that's going to be wrapped around rejection rates. So these decisions need to be made. And then we can identify how are we going to accomplish what our goals are. But if we don't have any goals and we just keep going with these new strategies, then we're absolutely not going to get where we want to go because we're not going to know it. So what we're going to be doing in the next month is we're going to be forming a group to focus on these goals. It's going to be a mix of academics and practitioners. It's going to be a mix of different levels of experience. And they're going to be charged with making recommendation to the executive council in the next 18 months for a vision for Aspire 2030. And so that's going to be the goal. They're going to be asking for input from the membership and from the HFE community, not just the membership, because of course we want input from people who are doing science application and practice in human factors and ergonomics. So I'm really excited about this. I think this is a really important moment in our current world and certainly in our future. So this is a big point for us, I think. Okay, so here's not my favorite topic, but one of the more important ones for sure. And a lot of people have asked me about these results, and I'm giving a brief overview of some of the results from a survey that we sent out to inform some of Lewisburg's efforts on the Hill. So for those of you who don't know, Lewisburg is a lobbying organization that HFES works with to support things that are relevant and important for human factors and ergonomics. This is an organization that helped to get the human readiness level standards incorporated into the Department of Defense contracts. So now all of the Department of Defense contracts have to have human readiness level standards in them. And so Lewisburg is an organization that helped make that happen. And so right now, one of the big activities that Lewisburg is working with us on is the fact that this administration is very interested in advancing AI. And of course, we have a big thing to say about AI and making sure that our name is on their mind when they are looking at that. And so they're there, they know who to talk to, they know what to say, they have language from us. And so this is who we rely on. So they need information from us about the impacts of these sorts of things to be able to say to different constituents and to different representatives about the negative impacts of things and these certain activities that are happening. So we have 200, just for those of you who didn't know, I wanted to make sure you knew who Lewisburg was and why we needed to inform them. We got 239 responses. So one of the questions was, has your organization been impacted by the federal we didn't say federal activities. I think the federal budget cuts or something like that. And so there were three choices, and then there was people could leave it blank. And so we had, you could see, and this is count, the y-axis here is how many people responded. So you can see the majority is academia, and then we have government agencies or government laboratories, industry, and then there was, another number who didn't respond at all. So I just called that other. There are people who responded and they just didn't give us any kind of response. So certainly academia is the predominant one. Industry is close behind, and government is certainly a non-zero. So I think that we are seeing that this is hitting across the board, but at this point, academia is certainly the one that is being hit the hardest. And then another question that we asked was how have these impacts uh, how these but cuts impacted you? And there were about 15 or 20 different categories that people could choose, and they could choose any that applied to them. And so that was a very painful graph to look at for this, town hall. And so what I did is for each of the three areas, I picked the top five. So these are the top five for academia. And you can see programs or contracts and activities delayed or suspended. They've been canceled, adjustments in budgeting, layoffs and reduction in jobs, or graduate students have lost funding. Now, this is before Friday. And last Friday, NIOSH had a lot of reductions in force, and they're having a lot of changes that are about to happen. The budget isn't finalized. I was in a call earlier today that is looking to see what else can be done, if anything else can be done with regard to this. They're very being led by a couple of people who are working very hard to maintain optimism and at the same time be focused and look at the activities that can be done. But it certainly is a very rough situation. So I imagine if we were to send this survey out again right now, that these numbers would be higher about how many of the people in this that have had these things happen at this point. For government agencies and laboratories, you can see that these are different. And I think that this is important for us about how our membership, how our discipline, how our science and our practice is changing. So for government agencies and laboratories, their travel and their hiring has been frozen, and their long-term initiatives have changed. Their budgeting has changed, and they are having layoffs and reduction in force, but that's not the top. That's not the top, but it's certainly very, very high. I work for a government agency, and I could certainly identify with all these. Would have been my top five that I would have hit for sure. So I think that it is important for us to see that the people in different agencies or different vector or sectors are experiencing these things differently. And now if we go to industry, we see that the strategies have changed, the contracts are being delayed, budgetings are being changed, the layoffs and the contracts are being canceled. So, and this was a month ago that this survey was out. So we're seeing that with these 239 people, we're seeing a contraction. And so it is a small sample. We don't know. This is not scientific in any way, shape, or form, and I'm not presenting it as that. It is information that we all need to attend to. And we need to continue to tend to it. And so we need to make some decisions about how frequently we send out this information. There's a real tension between survey fatigue and also keeping our fingers on the pulse of what's going on. And because if we've learned anything, we've learned that things change pretty rapidly with this administration. And so we're having to learn how to respond, manage, and deal with that. And so it's a little difficult to come up with a strategy in given that. So that's part of what we're trying to figure out in this. And so then the agencies themselves that are being affected, I just put these, every people could select more than one. These are all the agencies. No, I'm sorry. These are the top ones. This is if they had been selected 8 or more times. And so if it was, I think that, yes, if they were less than 8, then I did not put them on the graph. And so we see that NIH and NIOSH are the top two, NSF after that. So we're seeing all of these federal funding that is a huge part of a lot of the funding that our faculty and researchers get are on that list, on the chopping block, so to speak. And so again, wildly concerning and something that we just have to be aware of, figure out how we're going to address and what we're going to do about this. So, so what are we going to do about this? What have we been doing about this? And one of the things that, for those of you who haven't ever been in these kinds of leadership positions, I will tell you that we've been doing a lot, and there's a couple of things about that. One, when you're living and breathing it every day, all day long, it can be easy to forget that not everybody realizes all of the things that you're doing all day, every day about this. And so we have to be reminded to communicate that to y'all more clearly. And it's not that we're trying to be opaque, it's just that we are heads down trying to deal with it. And so we need to put our heads up and remember to communicate to y'all everything that we're doing so that you're aware that we're doing it. And so we are going to continue to work on being better at communicating. But please know, it's not about not wanting to be transparent. It's about being heads down in trying to figure out how to deal with all of this. And so, well, actually, those are both things, is that it's just been a lot. And then two, it's just very distracting. So the first, so these are the things that we have done to respond to these different kinds of categories, if you want to call them that. To the reduction in funding, we've assigned the Save the NIOSH community letter. We've submitted outside witness testimony, which is one of the mechanisms that is used to petition Congress to change courses of action. It has changed courses of action, but then not this particular one, but a collection of them. It will change course of actions, but then it goes back. So there was one that changed course of action, but then the new skinny budget changed some of that. What was said was going to happen. So the skinny budget is also a new change in course. So we're doing, again, that back and forth and back and forth. We've created the Solidarity Fund that, again, that I mentioned to you. We also did a call to action for HFES members back in April. When is it, Steve, that you said we did that?
It was the beginning of April.
Beginning of April. And so we will continue to do these things as we need to, and as is appropriate. Regarding the attacks on diversity, equity, inclusion, we've created a support, financial support for Inclusion HFE, which is an effort that has happened with the last, it was called IHFE at the last meeting. There's been an effort towards this for the last 3 or 4 years at the annual meeting / Aspire. And what this does is it brings in students from students who are from DEI universities. It was originally from primarily, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember the right words for it, but his minority serving universities, bringing them in, paying for their travel, that sort of thing, so that they could come, typically high school students, sometimes undergraduate students, so that they could come and learn about human factors and ergonomics, paying for their travel, paying for their conference, hooking them up with a mentor, having them experience HFES. Some of them have come back a couple of years in a row. And so many of them are considering this as a future now. I mean, this is a long game, but it is an important long game. And so having funding for that is something that this is something that now people can contribute to. But because HFES is not able to provide the funding for it right now. We're maintaining our commitment to DEI with our policies and our naming conventions, and that we did not change the names of um, our committees. And although that sounds not like a big deal, it actually was a very, very big deal. And in as far as the decision process and what it meant to the people who are in those committees, and that anyway, it's a very big deal. We responded to the discussion of the DEI hire being the cause of the airplane crash, and that given that that's part of our discipline and our knowledge base, that we are very aware of how to go about doing investigations about causal mechanisms of these kinds of crash, and whether human error was actually part of it or not, and if so, what was the mechanism of that. And that one, to make the causal statement so quickly, and then to attribute it to something that historically has not been attributed to that. We knew that we were in a position where we could speak to that. And so we made the statement to that. We created a rapid response task force that is something that we are, because there are so many things to respond to rapidly. We are building that airplane. We are building that airplane. We are flying it, to use a terrible analogy, but so that we can respond to things quickly that are relevant to HFES members and to HFE generally. And honestly, we missed the news on Friday, and because of other things that were going on in everybody's the people that are on that task force. And so obviously we've got some holes we need to fix in that plane. And we'll continue to respond. We'd like to hear from you about what are things that you've heard about that that we might need to respond, that we need to respond to. We'd appreciate a little grace. Let me trust you, or trust me, we're doing the best we can. So if you see something in the news, we have actually created, that's actually something else we did, HFE in the news. Please post it. Let us know. I've got that on immediate response to me in my email. So let us know if there's something in the news that you think we need to respond to. Hopefully, we may or may not actually respond to it, but we sure would like to know about it. So enough with the bad news. Let's talk about successes. So I'm not going to play this right now, but if we have time, I might. I will. But we have AI guardrails. We came out with Micah Ensley and her team came out with the AI guardrails. I think a year or so ago, in response to all of the AI development that was going on. And Boeing really adopted it and wrapped their arms around it and loved it. And they created a video of the AI guardrails using AI. And I think it's terribly clever, and it's very well done. And so they have gifted that to us. So we have the copyright of it now, and it is posted on our website. Granted, it's a little buried right now, but very soon it's going to be on our homepage. We're going to do a posting on LinkedIn and all of our social media about this. We're going to be highlighting it at Aspire, and certainly at the Humans in AI. And so if we have time, I'll be showcasing it to you here. These slides will be available to you, and you can see it here as well. But it's very well done, and I think it's just awesome that we have this, and it's just a great illustration of what a strong partnership can do. The healthcare symposium was a huge success. Record number of submissions, record number of attendees, extremely high attendee satisfaction. So this is the day that the air quotes bloodbath happened with NIH and all of the healthcare riffs, many of these people were traveling that day. So maybe some of them lost funding. I don't know, but I was really glad they were at least able to be together with each other. And even with those pending travel cuts, it was a very, very successful effort. So just really so impressed with that effort. It continues to be a very important signature in our in HFES package. For those of you who didn't hear about the regional meeting, I'm so disappointed you didn't hear about it, but oh my gosh, it was a huge success. It was in 5 different cities across the US, and that was our pilot event, and it will be international next year. We're so excited. They'll be in much more cities in the US as well. It was way more successful than we had anticipated. People really loved it. We certainly have some lessons learned. We bought in uh, almost as much in sponsorship as we brought in registration. We don't have our expenses yet completely tallied, but we know that our expenses are less than our revenue. So we were looking to break even. So we definitely made money on it. So we're really, really happy about that. And the thing that is particularly important about this is right now, as people's travel budgets are being really cut, these regional efforts for some are going to be the only face-to-face experiences they're going to be able to have for a little while. And so being able to build up this experience means that people will have that contact with HFES. The two-step process, although right now, again, we have some things we still need to iron out about that. It is a success because we are really seeing that the industry is responding very, very well to it, and that we are seeing our numbers go up remarkably. And I think that what we are seeing is a path forward to being able to get ourselves in a place where we want to be, because we've created a force function where we have to look more carefully and more intentionally at what's going on, and we have to compromise with each other and acknowledge that the academics and the practitioners need an equivalent seat at the table. And so I think that that's really a positive step forward and a success. Um, I think the timelines that we have with regard to Aspire submissions, again, is another success, because now we are being another forcing function that is requiring us to do some really diligent planning with regard to publications of the proceedings. We are going to be really needing our reviewers to be more we'll have to have more of them. We need to look more carefully about who our reviewers are, how we're getting reviewers, how do we I guess get them involved and motivate them to become involved. um Aspire 2030, I'm really thrilled about that. I think that's going to be a huge success. And I think it's a real success the way that we are looking forward and being proactive about some of our budgetary issues with the Aspire and the travel, and that we're not going to be reactive to this. We're not going to get to August or September and talk about how our hair's on fire, but we're being proactive and prepared, and we are going to respond, and we are responding in a way that is going to be uh, healthy and physically responsible for this society. Um, okay, so that is all I had. I've got 143. So I was going to go with the questions that I did see that we had a couple of comments in the, no, that's not what I wanted. Where are the comments? There we go. HBCU, thank you. Thank you, Susan. So let's talk about these questions first. So the first one, I'm not exactly sure how to respond to this. because the question says, it appears to me as though HFES has moved distinctly closer to researchers and away from practitioners. And are there plans to rebalance the HFES focus? And I'm not sure how to respond to this, because I think, as I have discussed, that we're actually, there are a lot of academics who are really upset with us right now, and we're trying to attend to both needs. So I'm not sure how to respond to that. So if the person who asked that is on the line and wants to clarify that for me, then I can respond to it more specifically. But right now, I don't know how to respond to it. I'm not afraid to respond to it. I'm happy to. I just don't know how to.
Camille, this is Ellen. I have a suggestion for answering because HFES is not one thing. There's the conference, there's our publications, there's our outreach, there's our government liaison, there's our relationship with BOCE. So, maybe it would be worthwhile just to look at not HFES as one entity, but to see, where people, I'm responding to your comment that researchers were disappointed about the conference, but perhaps this question isn't about the conference. Maybe this question is
Uh,
about membership. So I'm just saying, maybe look at different, and maybe this is something to do longer term, but just trying not to say HFES, but look at all the different pieces and see if some parts of HFES might appear to be or is leaning in a particular direction versus another.
okay, I love that. That's a great point, as far as just looking at the gestalt of it, although I don't know if gestalt's the right word, but I understand what you're saying. Looking at each of the components that we're investing time and resources into, um, and then in answering this. I'd have to think about that a little bit more carefully before I could answer that. I think the one piece about this that I do always want to remind people of is that the thing that differentiates HFES from all of the other organizations that um, have a human factors component to it, um, human factors and ergonomics in particular, is that we are the scientific home. And there's plenty of other conferences that say they've got human factors and ergonomics in it, or ergonomics in it, or human factors in it, that are explicitly focused on practitioners. They're explicitly focused on people submitting things that are not, well, full stop. They're explicitly focused on the presentations and their money making conferences, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that in any way, shape, or form. Um, it At the same time, it is not focused on making sure that there's a building of this fundamental scientific core and the foundational evidentiary core that is needed by the practitioners who are applying that um, foundational core. So I always want to remind us that that's, what makes us different. It's what the practitioners rely on, and what I hear all the time from them. I'm not making that up. I'm hearing that from them. And so that's, I have I feel a very strong responsibility to maintain that. It doesn't mean that um, that we move closer to researchers than practitioners. I think it is more about making sure that we maintain the integrity of that, as much as for the practitioners and the researchers. Um, and that is not, instead of, I think, Ellen, what you said as well is very important. Does anybody else want to offer another insight into this question, or we want to move on to the next one? The next one is really pretty easy. I mean, right now we've got everything on the table for given the current travel restrictions, funding restrictions. We've got it out on the table right now, and we're doing a lot of leg wrestling over this. And it is going to be funding, financial, almost exclusively, and then some logistics. And so that'll be, that's what we're looking at, and it'll be something that we have to decide in the next couple of months. And so stay tuned, because you'll be hearing about it from us, because if we're going to, if and when we pull that trigger, we'll have to pull it pretty quickly. And so so yes, we are considering it and looking into it. The next question about whether or not we are, oh, darn it, putting any input into this. I'm pretty sure we are. Isn't that something we're doing through Lewisburg with Micah?
We are. I don't have any details to share right now, but we can follow up when we send the recording out.
Yeah. So Micah Ensley is the chair of the Government Relations Committee. And Naj, you might have some information on this. You're on that committee.
Thank you and good morning, Camille. I think it was discussed and brought up to the attention of our committee. And I remember we got several emails about that by the Lewisburg colleagues about responding to this one and another one with NIST about AI. I think I responded to the one about NIST. But on this one, I haven't been able to do that. But it was, I remember, brought up to the attention of our committee. And I don't know if Micah is on this call or not. She can speak more about that.
I don't see her on this call right now, but it just came out last week. So obviously we haven't responded yet. But I do know that I saw this coming from her as well. Yeah. So I'm glad. I appreciate your confirming that, Naj.
Sorry, if it was last week, then it will be discussed in our follow-up meeting of the Government Relations Committee, which is once a month. I think it's in the somewhere in the middle of the month. It's a Zoom meeting. Whoever wants to attend that, I think is open to our colleagues if they want to attend that also.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, Naj. Yeah, I was thinking, because like you said, there's several AI initiatives going on, because the administration is very interested in AI. So this is one of the initiatives that's getting some support and attention. And the last question we have here is, what is HFES's position regarding concerning the recent aviation accidents? Well, I think that we certainly have, with regard to the one that I had mentioned at the DC airport, we've talked about that. I know that Naj has published several pieces on that. We have not had an official HFES position on that, and I think that is something that we can discuss about whether or not whether it's time yet for us to have an HFES position, whether it's helpful for us to have an HFES position. And because these are the kinds of things we have to think of as the stewards of the society, right? So my responsibility as president is to make sure that the society continues. Full stop. That's what I signed on. Is so legally, physically, all of the other stuff. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And so we have to look at all of the things that are associated with HFES taking a position on this issue right now. And if it is the right thing to do, if it's the smart thing to do, then let's do it. If it is something we need some more evidence before it's time for HFES to take a position, then let's hold off. If it is that, yeah, we have enough evidence and we can say something, but man, it'd be stupid to stick our neck out right now, given everything else that's going on, maybe we wait a little while. So those are the kinds of things that we have to consider and talk about. Go ahead, Naj. I knew you'd have something to say about this.
Thank you, Camille. You have been excellent again. Hands down, excellent, being proactive. And that I submitted this question because I would like to see what you and our colleagues say. That let me just a little backtrack on this. As you may know, that there have been a series of runway incursion of the mid-air collision of DC that you mentioned that. And I think this is becoming a very important issue for us as HFES because on many of these runway incursion, in fact, this was New York Times article just last Friday, the front page article about the DC crash, and then followed up by 2 full pages about really human factors written all over that, those of you that have seen that. I would like to make a suggestion to you, Camille, and to our colleagues at FHFES. Maybe it would be nice if we have a task force addressing that. And I think you, Camille, and Dr. Micah Hensley are the best people to lead this task force about writing like a position paper, very short, about the importance of HFES in runway incursion and mid-air collision. The runway incursion has reached an epidemic level. My piece in Newsweek, published in late January, or that I made a suggestion over there that we need to come up, the Congress need to come up with a national plan for human factors in runway incursion. The same thing that happened after the Aloha airline that Congress and FAA came up with that. If I remember, Michelle Robertson got some funding from that, and Jim Taylor, about called National Plan in Human Factors in Aviation Maintenance. That is my suggestion, that you, Micah, and colleagues in the Executive Council may like to think about creating a task force about this issue. And I want to open a parenthesis here. Last Wednesday, there was a webinar hosted by Flight Safety Foundation and ran by Dr. Hassan Shahidi, president of Flight Safety Foundation. It was a webinar conversation, fireside chat with Honorable Jennifer Hammond, the chairwoman of the National Transportation Safety Board. In fact, one of the very few federal agencies that they are not having a freeze and they hire new employees is NTSB, according to her in that webinar. And then she, on many occasions in that 45 minutes, she explicitly talked about the importance of safety culture and human factors in aviation safety. For our younger colleague or prospective students that are looking for employment, I would suggest that look into NTSB, because she is a breath of fresh air, Ms. Hamidi, about her understanding and knowledge of human factors. And then they are hiring on that. And maybe the stars align up for us if we come up with this task force about human factors in aviation safety. I remember Micah testified before the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee that was chaired by Congressman Peter DeFazio, right after the 737 crashes. I, as a member of Government Relation Committee, we gave her some input at her testimony, 17-page, Human Factors in Aviation Safety, I think is a seminal piece that we contributed to, and I use that as a handout for my class. I can send that to you. But anyway, this has been my suggestion or question about maybe we need to create a task force to address this issue and to come up, at least to be on the record about what can we do. And then in light of the NTSB hiring and interest.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'd say we can make a task force as long as you're on it.
Thank you. You're so kind. I'm too old for being on one more task force.
No. If you're too old, then I'm too busy. I'm just letting you know. That's the way that works.
You have been a breath of fresh air, Camille. Again, I've been a member of this society for 42 years. I've seen some great presidents. You are in the same league.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. That is very kind of you to say. That is very kind. Okay, well, I do want to say we've got 1 minute left, but I'm happy to stay for more questions. So please feel free to ask questions. This is y'all's time. We went a little longer. Let's see. HFES. There we go. That's a good point, Phil.
And if I may make just one suggestion, next year, I think 2026 will be the 70 years of our foundation of our HFES. This document, which was produced at the 50th anniversary of HFES, I have a PDF version of it, and it's going to be available in the archive of the society. That was published in 2006. Maybe it will be revisited for 2026, which is
That'd be great. That would be great. Yeah, we'll start that plan. That's a great idea, Naj. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Well, does anybody want to stay on and see the video? Are y'all all going to leave if I do it? Well, anyway, I'm going to turn it on anyway because I love watching it. It's so cool. But I need to share. Oh, good. I got a thumbs up from somebody here. Okay, desktop, share. Oh, did I share sound? Hold on, back up. Stop share. That's worse. I always forget to share sound. Share. Oh, does it share sound? Oh, there's share sound. Here we go. Optimize for video. There. Share. I have to talk to myself these days. Here we go. And are y'all seeing this? Can't see anybody. Hey, somebody talk to me and tell me whether you're seeing it.
Yeah.
Welcome. In this
Okay, great.
video, we will review the public policy recently released by the Human Factors and Ergonomics Society around responsible use of artificial intelligence. In recent years, we've seen a transition from human-operated devices and services to autonomous robotics and AI support features, such as robots that clean our floors, taxis with no drivers, and ChatGPT. Advances in AI have made it possible to synthesize realistic human speech, and even realistic human appearance, all generated from data samples using AI. In fact, I am an example of this. My face is that of a real person, animated using AI to provide the narration for this video. I can even change the language I speak at the click of a button. Je parle des centaines de langues, dont le français. Artificial intelligence has the potential to greatly enhance our lives, but it also has the potential to cause harm, which is why the Human Factors and Ergonomics Society has released a set of guardrails to help us navigate this new territory. Let's look at the first 4 guardrails for human use. Just like we might see with food, labeling is necessary. Consumers of products derived from AI need to be informed about the source so they can make personal decisions about reliability. Use of AI to alter facts or create false information, and not denoted as fiction, may be considered fraud by legal standards. AI recommendations may be laced with invisible biases, erroneously presented as fact. Those of us developing AI must work to expose and eliminate bias in the data. And if we can't eliminate it, we must tell consumers it is present and may impact AI's reliability. Developers using AI must fully understand and accept liability for their products. We must not blame errors on users and always hold developers accountable. This guardrail helps us promote accountability and responsible development of tools. Now let's review the remaining guardrails, highlighted as especially necessary for safety-critical applications of AI, such as healthcare, transportation, power systems, and military operations. AI must be capable of describing the rationale for outputs in an easy-to-understand way, so users can make informed decisions. Consumers of AI products need to know the status of the system and its condition of reliability to know what level of confidence to have in it. Realistic situations and representative users must be involved in testing AI efficacy, including validating its use in unusual but possible conditions, such as fatigue, low attention, high stress, and other factors. Critical systems must alert users when necessary for manual control or other overrides. Systems must be designed to revert to a safe state if they fail to perform properly. Safe fallback strategies should not require human operators to perform beyond human limitations. Users need to know about all AI system capabilities, behaviors, and limitations for proper and safe use. And finally, autonomous AI systems must demonstrate adequate performance in realistic conditions, including possible hazards that may impact operations. Artificial intelligence is changing our world every day. The safety and effectiveness of AI depends on following these guardrails for human interaction with AI. Get more information and read the AI Guardrails for Human Use in full at hfes.org. And thank you for watching.
I love the music. I keep hearing it. Isn't that cool? I just think it's so classy and well done. So there we go. Okay, so all right. Thank you, Katie. And thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And Naj, we will be in touch about your new task force. And thank you all. I appreciate it as always. Please, like I said, send us a note, drop us a line if you see something that you think, oh my gosh, they need to know about this. Maybe they've seen it already, but if I send it, then they'll see it twice. Yes, the link of the video is in the chat. It's Caitlin put it in at the very top. It's HFES to everyone at the very top of the chat. Let's see. I'll put it in again at the bottom just so you can see it again easily. And look for it on the homepage of HFES as well. And we're also going to be sending some social media out about it. So share it with everybody. Share it far and wide. Show your mom, show your dad, show your kids. That's awesome. So, okay. Everybody have a great Monday. I hope you have a great week, rest of your week. Cinco de Mayo. If you drink margaritas, have one. Bye.